is Ruckus. Thanks for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share. 10-8. Hey. Oh, I got a chat on from last time. Let me switch that. The Crime Sleepers. How you doing, brother? BGOG. Today's live is going to be about my recent trip with Mr. Steve. Those of you who know Mr. Steve, he's absolutely awesome. Hello, Jill. Boston Christian. The more time I spend with Steve, the more I like that guy. Frank, how are you, sir? Bama Sin, I seen you were the first one in earlier. Welcome aboard. Mommy Wolverine, I got to meet up with her during this trip. That was fantastic. Yes, please hit the like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Steve picked me up on this trip on Sunday afternoon. I met him in Reno. He had some things to do on some other cases. He put about 10,000 miles on his vehicle during this trip. So he's a machine. That guy can drive like nobody's business. I couldn't do it. There was one morning where we left, got in the van at 7 in the morning, and we did not get to the hotel to take a little nap until 3 in the morning. And then we were up at 8 the next morning in the van and going again. It was great, though. The work that he does is fantastic. His YouTube channel, he puts it like this. He has his YouTube channel, and then he has his skunk works stuff that he's doing. I don't even like saying behind the scenes. He's helping families, and he's helping victims, and he's helping law enforcement and retired law enforcement. Um, if you guys had any clue about what he actually does, you'd be amazed. Rescue all the dogs. Rescue put me up for a few days. Her and her wonderful husband Dan. They were fantastic, and the dogs were fantastic. If I could have fit one in the suitcase, I would have stole them. Misty, how are you? I got to meet Misty as well. We all went out for lunch. It was fantastic. Mother of Dragons, hello. Lakeside Justice, what's going on? Kira, what's shaking, babe? All right, no sound. Do you guys hear me? Let me see if I have it. It looks like it's working. If you guys can hear me, throw one in the chat real quick. It's been a little bit since I've done a live. I may have screwed something up. I'm not above that. I'm stuck on stupid. Ashley, how are you, brother? Jinx, got to hang out with Jinx a few times, which was great. Oh, it's too loud? Okay. Well, let me see if I can. Is that better? Hi, Laura Lee. How are you? Audrey? Now I'm going backwards. See, you guys got me all fucked up. Beth Gonzalez, what's shaking? But hopefully that's better. Let me know if that's a better volume for you guys. Copperhouse, how are you, dear? Lisa, what's shaking? Well, we got all the cool kids. Yeah, Jill says no sound either. Okay. All right, so you can hear me now. I see the ones. I hate that. Get a real top notch show going on here. I got my shit together. uh, okay, Peg, what's going on? Yvonne, how are you? Yeah, I got to meet what up, Miss Bojangles? She put a 7. You're a pain right in my ass. You're troublemaker. Proud American, how are you? Sleuth, what's going on? Okay. Yeah, I've got worse issues than this. Trust me. I'm stuck on stupid. SOS. But a real top-notch professional thing going on. This, you notice, this never happens with Sleuth. Sleuth's always smooth sailing. Even when he's out walking his dog, you can hear and see everything fine. No, not me. Not me. Sitting at my computer, dummy. Now it's low again. Okay. I can't win. I hope that's good. I hope that's good. I try and not blow anybody out. You know, I have it's actually a vocal microphone. It's medium now, not perfect. And we've got some thunderstorms rolling through here too, so you guys may get lucky and I get cut off. There's Steve. I was taken hostage by a deranged madman in Reno. Now I'm safe at home after being rescued. Yeah, who rescued you? You're a liar. You're a liar. I was signaling the whole time that we were driving, had my hand like this, so at the lights and stuff, so people knew that I needed help. But yeah, you guys that know Mr. Steve, he does great work. His reenactments and his case studies and stuff like that, beyond reproach. Beyond reproach. He's great. Hey, Gail. All right, I'll pull the mic a little closer. We'll get this figured out. I mean, you could probably hear me without the mic, to be honest with you. I got a big mouth. But hey, Cindy. But Steve has his channel, you know, he does his reenactments and case studies and goes over and brings awareness to cases and stuff. But he has a whole nother gig on the side. And I understand, you know, he can't talk about most of it. We're working with victims' families. It's a pleasure working with him. We go out and we meet the victims' families. We meet retired law enforcement. It's a privilege going out with Steve. It's real fun. He takes good care of me too. I would have to stop every other rest stop. I would have to stop to smoke, even though I quit, right? And then every other rest stop between those, I had to pee. So every rest stop, we had to pull over pretty much if you let him tell it. But we put some miles on. Mommy Wolverine super sticker. You're awesome. I appreciate it. Let me throw you some of those ones. Oh, those are 20s. Let me throw you some of those 20s. But this trip, Steve had a whole trip before he even picked me up in Reno. And he didn't look tired at all. He never does. He's always ready to go. Uh, now I'm afraid to ask Steve if it's perfect. Does it have a horn on it? But I got to meet up with some folks. Steve had some things to do further east. So I took this opportunity to go to Delphi and stay there for a few days. So I was there from pretty much Saturday night to Wednesday morning. And like I said, rescue all the dogs and her awesome husband put me up. And it was a great time. They made me feel very comfortable. I didn't even have to rent a vehicle. She took me around. It was fun. I enjoyed spending time with her and her family, her dogs, her husband, good people. I got to meet Mel, Cold Truth. She came by the house. I met up with Jinx, Mummy Wolverine, Randy Gravitz, Misty. I met a bunch of good folks. Phil Bond, her sister, who is now a true crime junkie. But we had a good time. Jinx tried to entice me to take a picture at the doghouse, but I wasn't going to let my wife get a hold of that. She'd hold it over my head that I'm in the doghouse, even when I'm on a trip. Hey, Mel, it was so nice to meet you. It really was. You're awesome. But in this trip, we're focusing on eDNA is a whole brand new thing. And Steve, with all his wisdom, has managed to connect with some folks, both with a lab and a university, and develop techniques. This is brand new. I mean, he's blazing his own trail. This is ground level for that work. So he's collecting data, and we went into some of the most beautiful remote areas collecting data. And it's too bad that these areas are connected to crimes like this, tragedies, because they're absolutely beautiful. He picked me up in Reno, then we went to North Dakota, and then we went to Salt Lake, Texas, Utah, Arizona, you name it, we hit it. We got to meet with some retired detectives and a bounty hunter type who's working on cases. Now, we did not know. Stop with the melatonin, man. Yeah, mind your own business. How's that? What's up, Cryptex? Cryptex is a good guy. If you guys haven't seen his channel, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I wish he never showed his face because he's much better than looking than I am. So now I don't want to go on with him. I'll have to wear a mask when I go on his show. But we met with some of these folks, and I've talked with them. You know, I've worked out a little bit of the logistics, and so Steve got to meet these folks, and they took to Steve right away. So now there's a whole nother network, not just on the West Coast, but nationally. They work with some nationally syndicated shows and people well known. You would know their names. There was actually a production crew that we were not counting on that met us at a site. And Steve actually got to speak with them and, you know, find out what they were doing and stuff like that. And they talked to him for a little bit, kind of it was an interview, but it was on site. He was working, so they were just trying to get what he was doing. They were filming and stuff like that. And about a few minutes, you know, 5-10 minutes into the interview, they called him George. So they had to start over. He's like, "That's George over there. I'm not George. I'm Steve." But hey, they're only human. They're only. You can't blame them. You know, all of this. You can't blame them. They had George on their mind. But we were able to get enough samples so that we can get some baseline work going. Now, some of this stuff, I mean, the whole program may not be relevant for years or decades from now, but it is relevant to Steve and to me. Phil, what's going on, K-Babe? It was a pleasure meeting you and your sister again. That's the second time I've met you, but it was nice meeting your sister. She's hooked. I know she's hooked. But these tests that we did, you know, when Steve took the samples, he took some dry samples and he took some that had some chemicals in it. So they're trying to develop, you know, what's the best way to transfer these, because, you know, he had to ship them back to the lab to the people that are trying to develop this eDNA. And how it works, the gist of it, if there's a decomposing body in a remote area. Now, if it's not remote, there'll be human DNA. You can't do it at, like, you know, rest stops and stuff like that right now anyway. But these remote areas where serial killers and what's up, Silas? Serial killers and just regular killers that want to hide a body, they take them to remote areas. They're difficult to get to. They're difficult to yeah, Steve, I'm glad you got to meet with these folks. You're the brains, I'm the beauty. I draw them in with all this, and then you take over from there. But if they're dumped in a remote area, there's watershed. And the way that this works is in the past decade or so, they're able to take water from a stream and run it through some DNA testing, and they can tell you every species of fish and mammals that live on or close to the bank or visit that water. They can tell by the DNA, and they're 100% correct. This, Silas, how are you doing? So why not use this technology when a body decomposes? The fluids go through different stages, they turn waxy, but eventually they make themselves into the soil. And then the rain will wash them deeper into the soil, and eventually they'll get to the watershed. So if you could picture there's a body somewhere in a mountainous, remote area. You can follow that watershed by collecting these DNA samples till you get a hit. And then you narrow it down from, like 5,000 acres to search down to 4 or 5. And not only that, you can narrow it down to one watershed as opposed to 4 or 5. So it should help. I mean, it's in its infancy, but Steve's way ahead of the curve. And, he's working this. And to me, it's amazing. It's amazing the technology that we're getting to. The genealogy DNA has come a long way in the past 10 years or so. Well, now this is a whole new different way. Now, some of the cases that we worked, we're working for victims' families. They may know what happened to their loved ones because the person's in prison and he confessed, but he hasn't really pinpointed where the bodies are. Well, it means a lot to those families. So if we can find them, they can have some kind of closure. We all know there's never ever going to be closure when something horrific happens like that to a loved one. But at least we can help them have some closure. We can get the remains back or whatever's left of them, and get them back to the family so that they can give them a proper burial, whatever they decide to do. So it means a lot. We've been meeting with victims' families. Steve's working on some cases. I'm working on some cases that we don't really talk about because we can't. It's Some of it is legal issues. You sign NDNAs. Is that what it is? Non-disclosure. Yeah. And some of these labs and universities and stuff, until they perfect the science, they don't want their name involved with it. And I totally understand that, because if it is a failure, it doesn't look good on them. But to me, it doesn't matter if it's a failure or not. It's data. It may lead to something else. They may be doing the testing for one thing and figure out that, hey, this will work in another venue. This will work with different things. Now, there's a couple cases since we met these retired law enforcement detectives and stuff like that. They have many cases that they're working on, and through his foundation, Steve was able to offer help, and they really appreciate it. I mean, their eyes lit up. Steve has access to many people. He's built a network of professionals to include, cadaver dog handlers outside of law enforcement and labs. And, Steve has made contact with several different DNA labs that he can work with. So if it's a matter of how fast you need it, he may be able to get with them and get the work done faster. But there wasn't much. I was sitting there just yesterday thinking, when Steve and I got to these remote sites, without really, Steve doesn't explain the whole thing to me, but without really discussing it prior, we both come up with basically the same conclusion about where we should look, where we think the bodies are. Try and get in the mind of the person who did this, and we seldom disagree about that. But Steve's very thorough. He makes sure that he tests everything, and anybody that's watched Steve's channel, you'll see that he does tests, and he tries to come up with conclusions of stuff that really isn't involved with the case, but it is, just to show you that, yeah, law enforcement knows what they're talking about, and this is what's possible. This is what's not possible, you know. Yeah, Gail. I mean, he, Steve's the one you want to talk to about that. And yes, Cindy, Steve does need a raise. But we have fun too. Don't get me wrong. Steve had a dash cam this time around, but it looped after 12 hours. It would loop over, um, which is too bad. Um, Thank you, Misty. I appreciate it. Which is too bad because there's a few incidents. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the road. There's a few instances that happened that I would love to have been able to review, but I guess they got recorded over. But while we were driving, there was semis all over the highway. Right, it's a 2-lane highway, and up ahead you could see the flashing lights. Law enforcement had somebody pulled over. So Steve slowed down and let this semi truck get in front of us. And as soon as we got by that law enforcement officer, whoop whoop, behind us, we got pulled over. And this guy, he was a trooper, he's a young guy. He pulled him over for following too closely. So we were laughing about that. That's what you get for being a nice guy right there. That's what you get. Now, I had a lot more fun with it than that. But um, Steve has a good sense of humor. He thought it was funny as well. But since we lost that, I can't really, because it'll turn into my word against his, and I know how he embellishes everything. It, so I can't wait. I can't really do anything. Hey Shane, how are you? But the fact that he pulled him over for following too close was crazy. Was crazy because he had been violating traffic laws probably on a felony level for thousands of miles. I mean, I offered this trooper if he needed assistance, I would make a citizen's arrest, and I was signaling him doing the "I need help" signal because he came up on my side of the window. I was signaling him saying I need help, but he didn't catch it. So but fortunately, I was able to escape. So anybody that sent ransom money to Steve, you need to get that back because I was able to get away. And the second big one, um, we were driving, and like I said, there's semis all over the road out that part of the country, and there's retreads all over the side of the road that blow off the tires. Hey, Sim, and I had just told Steve, those things have steel belts in them. Look at these big hunks on the side of the road. That's dangerous. They should outlaw those things. And within a few minutes, Steve was following too close again. What a surprise. But the tractor trailer in front of us blew out a tire. And this thing spit out huge pieces, looked like gators, and started hitting his rental van. And he didn't smash on the brakes, he pumped them like he's supposed to. We almost went into the ditch, but he was able to move it around. Now I know that he was trying to make all the big hunks hit on my side of the windshield, so I took the hit. But his driving skill is beyond reproach. I mean, it was a hot mess, and when we pulled over, I was shocked. We got out. There was black marks from these pieces because this van's like this high off the ground. It's crazy. Went on a dirt road, and I had to walk out in front of the van, moving these little rocks like I'm a minesweeper or something in Afghanistan. But God forbid, scratch his little, his little bread van. It's like riding around a UPS truck for a week. but, but we had a good time, and we're doing good stuff. That's the main thing. We were helping people, and these people really appreciate it, and you really get to see it. Um, some of them are just choked up that somebody's helping them, and it's not that law enforcement isn't doing anything, but we can do things that they really can't. We can spend time on things, but and Steve always has a game plan, which I don't always know. Our logistics suck. It's always last minute. you know, I'm texting people for weeks before our trip, and it's not until the day before Steve picks me up that we actually know where he's going to be. because, like I said, he was working cases all across the country. And, he has other things, just like all of us do, have things going on in our private life. Yeah. Yeah. It was funny, Steve. I mean, I just mentioned it, and then boom! I looked at my phone. I hear this explosion and all this big, huge pieces of black tire coming at us, and it beat that van up pretty well. I mean, I'm surprised because that thing's made out of plastic that it did not break any of the van. But Steve assured me that he had the insurance just in case. But anytime he was making a left turn, he would cut people off. So I would take the hit on my side. He didn't care about my safety. He was just worried about getting to the next spot. And this time he really controlled his speed. I was happy about that. I think I only put my feet up on the dash 60, 70 times this trip. Not the whole way, you know. But yeah, if Steve can pull some of that. Now I have a potty mouth. I talk the same way in person that I do on here. I'm trying to clean it up, but it's just not my style. I am who I am. What are you gonna do? If you don't like me, get in line. There's a lot of people who don't like me. Kimosabi, how are you? So I'm sure that some of it he can't share. Yeah, National Treasure. Now, he was not my Sherpa this time. I carried some of his stuff once in a while. My shoulders are better, so I can actually put some weight on it. Yeah, I caused Mommy Wolverine. She basically drove down to Delphi and then back home on 3 tires because of my curse. But Steve has this stuff down to a science. He drives so much, he can tell you how much gas it's going to take to fill it up. Now, the gas prices they were almost $6, I think it was, a gallon in Los Angeles. But then the further east we went, it got lower and lower, got down to like 350. But he'd call it. He'd know how much it would take. But he was very gracious. He'd ask me if I needed to stop and stuff like that. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm an idiot. I grow a beard in the summer and shave it off in the wintertime. You know why? Because I'm stupid. But we talked, and I know Steve he likes to tease and stuff like. He's going to say that I slept most of the time. I did not. We talked, and as a matter of fact, the first time that I looked down at my phone because TSA stole my lighter, my cigar lighter. And I was mad. So, we weren't really talking. So I looked down at my phone and he gives me what are you, bored already? After 12 hours on the road. But we got to listen to some, Crime to Sleep, Swings and Roundabouts. You get that right, my friend. I was able to deliver I got to meet Kelsey. I got to meet with Kelsey. And the Crime Sleepers, that's Kishti, if you guys don't know. He sent some handmade rosaries for Anna and for Becky. And I was able to meet with Kelsey, got to meet Kelsey at work. And she's a sweetheart. She's an absolute sweetheart. So I was able to deliver those for you. Now, the booze, Kishti, we're not going to discuss that. I was ready to deliver it if there was a trial a couple months ago, but there wasn't. So I drank it. But Steve and I, during our travels, there was only one day where we weren't in a time crunch, because when you're going from state to state to state and you have to meet with people, you got to keep on a schedule. Well, we had a little time to kill, and I have never been to Vegas. So we're driving through Vegas, and Steve says, well, they have good buffets there. Let's stop for lunch. So we pulled into the Palms Hotel. And of course, this is Steve's luck. He parked. You could not be any further away from where the exit was, an entrance to that buffet, and still be in the state of Nevada. I mean, yeah, it was crazy. But we walked in, we found the place, and you get in line, and they take your name and your phone number, and they say, okay, we'll text you. And I thought Steve said, well, how long is it going to be? And the guy says, 1 or 2. I thought he said 1 or 2 minutes. No, 1 or 2 hours. Well, 1 or 2 hours turned into 4.5 hours. So, but it was worth it. We had a good time. We weren't upset. We laughed about it. We got to listen to lives. We couldn't watch them, obviously, but we were listening to them on the speaker and on the car stereo speaker. And if you guys could have seen the look on Steve's face, some of this stuff, some of them were drama filled. It was creators talking about creators rather than true crime and doxing each other and all that. And Steve was driving and he just keeps looking at me like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah, dude, you don't know about all this? And he's like, no. He doesn't participate in that stuff. He doesn't go in Discord. He's too busy. He's too busy for that stuff. So that was fun. That was fun watching that watching that part of it because I'm very familiar with it. And we were laughing at how many times my name got mentioned. you know, I'm not even around. I'm not on these lives, and they mentioning my name. It was funny. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I can't control what other people say or do. But for everyone that donates, when we go on this trip, on these trips, and you guys donate in chat, and you donate to the foundation and all that, I'm here to tell you, every nickel of it goes to those trips, and it's so worth it. And I just want you guys to know that we don't use any of this money for personal stuff. We use it for these trips. And Steve is very gracious when we meet the families or these detectives, anybody that's helping us or we're helping. He takes them out to eat, and he asks them if they need anything. He's a really kind man, and he puts up with my shit for thousands of miles. But it's just yeah, I like the Crime Sleepers. I like that. And Sully seems pretty cool too. I got to watch that. I was sitting with Rescue All the Dogs and her puppies on the porch. They took to me right away. I almost took one home named Jack. They foster dogs as well. They work for a shelter. They volunteer there, and they get called out if a dog comes in, and they go and intake them and get them settled in, or her. But they'll bring one dog home and let them get acclimated to a home with pets and all of that. And it's they're very kind. They're great people. Very very kind. I was happy that I got to spend some time with them and meet their family, and then of course went out, met with Randy Gravitz, Mummy Wolverine, Misty, Jinx, Phil Bond. I mean, we had a blast. We went out to eat, and if I forgot anybody, I apologize. Ruckus has YouTube flyers at post offices as most wanted. Yeah, he's full of shit. He had to mail out all these samples that we took, and he's trying to get me to do it because he was worried that his picture would be in the post office. So I told him, yeah, no, pass, because mine might be in there too. I think I'm wanted in this state, at least for assault with a friendly weapon. But they'll throw that out for lack of evidence. I'll beat that in court. Not worried about that at all. But I'll tell you, when Steve returns a rental vehicle, they probably have to change the tires on it. So no, I loved your interactions with Sully. I thought Sully was great. I thought he was really great. It was excellent. And when I got to rescue all the dogs home, I had my own bathroom and bedroom and stuff. And the hand towel next to the sink said, fuck them. So I felt right at home. And on the back of the door, she had a tin sign that said, I do what I want, which she told me to take home. She said, that's for you. So I'm sure my wife's going to love that. I'm, I'm going to wear it around my neck like a necklace. Let her deal with that. But that's it. I just want to give you guys an update and let you know that everything that you do for us, meeting with us, giving me a place to lay my head, donating, no matter how much it is, it helps. This foundation is fantastic. Um, Steve is the perfect person to run that. Hey, James, how are you? He's very thoughtful and careful about how he uses that money and what he uses it for. So he gets what he needs per trip rather than just stocking up on things. So he does a great job. He really does. If they gave me that money, I'd be like, oh, I need a razor, one of those side by sides, a Polaris razor. I need a jet ski. I need ATVs. All of that. Living La Vida Loca. I'm only kidding. I wouldn't do that, but he's really good at what he does. And it was nice to I got to eavesdrop on all of his phone calls with his wife because they come up on the speaker. So I got to say hello to her several times, and she was making sure that I was taking good care of her man, which I was. If he needed it, he didn't need it this trip, but we got to meet with Alex Voorhees. We had lunch with Alex. So that was fun. We had a blast on that day. That was a hoot. That place we went to was something else. It's crazy. And if you are not in the Discord, I'll put one of the pictures up on my community page. I guess there's some famous artists that did some work in there, and it is weird, Art Deco kind of stuff. Skeletons, a skeleton mariachi band, and a big shark, and it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat. We had a good time. I've seen parts of the country that I've never seen before. We drove through Joshua Tree, so Steve really didn't know much about that. So he got yeah, that was the Bob Dotto shark. I didn't know that until you guys pointed that out to me. All right, Frank Meister, take it easy, buddy. But we went through Joshua Tree, and Steve wasn't very familiar with it, so he got a history lesson on the band U2 as well. But we went for miles and miles and miles of beautiful country. The only person that's 12 I'm cool with. Hi, Ruck. How are you, Hard Candy? Yeah, nobody was taking care of me. Steve could have left me on the side of the road at any point, and I'd made it. I'm a big boy. Plus, all this, somebody picked me up. Probably a serial killer, but who knows? Who knows? I may have joined the priesthood just to get out of the desert. But it was hot there. Good Lord. But there was no humidity, so I was taking it. But that's it, guys. Just wanted to give you an update. Steve and I met with a lot of good people. We networked. We made some progress while collecting eDNA. We talked about these cases. Some of them, are 40 years old, 30 years old. But we're trying to help the families. And if you guys could meet some of these families and see what great people they are, and it's horrible that their loved ones suffered the fate that they did, makes it well worth it. And if we can help them bring their loved ones home, even though they know what happened, it's a little bit of closure. It'll never get any better for them, but at least they can have closure. So we're doing a lot of that. There's no more chasing bad guys. I realized that on this trip that you just evolve, and these people that live a life of crime, that they leave an impact that lasts generations sometimes. So we're not chasing bad guys anymore. Um, we're chasing after what the bad guys have done and left in their wake, and we're trying to help people, assist them with that. And some of them, they don't have the bad guy yet. So in a way, we are chasing them, but we have to be very careful. If somebody confessed to Steve or I, that's hearsay. So we need to make sure we do things right and we get law enforcement involved as quick as possible and do things the right way. And fortunately, we both understand that. But that's why you won't ever see. I could have done a live every night on the trip and it would have been really interesting, but I can't really talk about it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the spot I'm in right now. I don't want to be in any documentaries. I don't want to be interviewed. Cryptex taught me that. They could take your interview, cut and paste it, and make it look like you're saying something that you're not. Leonardo, how are you? So, just a quick one on a Saturday afternoon. I know there's some lives coming up tonight. I've been watching them all. Watching you guys comment. This is a great bunch of folks. I watch how you guys comment in other lives as well. And you guys are some fine, upstanding people. You know, I don't care what anybody says. I've got to meet some of you, and I've enjoyed every second of it. It's been great. And Steve, I hope to see you again soon. We're planning another trip, so hopefully we'll have some good news. Now, once we can share, we will. Um, but I won't ever share it here. These are Steve's cases. Steve can share those, and I will follow up after him and tell you the truth on how I figured it out, not him. He stumbled upon it after I pointed out all the facts. But you guys have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend. I've got my little 5-month-old granddaughter here, so I'm gonna go hang out with her for a little bit. Um, and wait for my wife to get home. She went up north for her mom's funeral, and she'll be back later on today. So you know what that means. I got to make sure everything's clean. I've got to go over and above, make sure everything's done, so that when she comes home, she can just relax. So please like, share, spread the word about Mr. Steve's channel. He really keeps up with what's going on, what the trips are about, and when we're going to go on them. He doesn't always take me. He has other people that he works with, but I'm willing to go with him on a second's notice because I learn a lot, and I enjoy his company, even though he is a liar. All that shit that he talks about me on his channel, I'm going to be the bigger man. So, all right, guys, y'all have a great day. And don't take any wooden nickels. And as soon as I get the wooden nickels in, I'm going to start taking them with me on these trips. And if I meet you, I'm going to give you a wooden nickel. And you guys can use that in the bar. If you don't have your wooden nickel, you got to buy the beer. So you guys have a great day. And please, please stay safe and kiss the ones you love. Honestly, take care.
My name is Ruckus. Thanks for hanging out. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'm 10-7.